So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the second Spearhead chat. We've got Nabil, Shaban and Philip Martin from Vengeance on Varos, Trial of the Time Lord, Devil Seeds of Arador, and much, much more. So, let's we shall let more people in. There's some more people just coming in. So, Nabil, I'm not sure if you've been able to sort your sound out at the moment, but if you tilt your camera down a little bit more, we'll be able to see you a bit better. Okay, so I'm going to start with Philip, if I may. So, Philip, where did the idea for SIL come from?
Well, it goes way back, actually. It's about, I don't know, 1984, when I was commissioned to write Vengeance on Varos. And I was looking for a monster. And I'd had a bit of a run-in with a fire officer in a previous studio who cautioned me about even taking coffee into the studio. And I was feeling in a particularly bolshy mood. And I decided to invent a swamp creature who at that time needed constant bathing with water. And that was the beginning of SIL, really. It was only when Nabil took over the part and began to play it that he came into full focus. And, you know, has been a character that I've been delighted to explore ever since.
Cool. And was it always the intention to bring him back sort of like, well, which was the next year? It would have been the next year, but it got cancelled. But then again, for Trial of the Time, was that always the original?
Yes, he was part. Yes, I liked him so much, and I had such fun with him. And he was also becoming very, very popular with the fans that I certainly would have used him in. I think it was Mission to Magnus.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was certainly in that. The planet had been made very cold, and SIL's idea was to sell woolly jumpers to the natives.
What made you want to become a writer? What was that sort of light bulb moment for you?
Well, I was an actor, and I did all right as an actor. I mean, I looked much younger than my years, and eventually the years caught up with me, and it needed starting almost a second career as an actor. You know, I played leads on television. I was in Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner and theatre at Royal Court. But I was at a crossroads when I was about late 20s, really.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'd not become disillusioned with acting, but I just realized that I had to start a whole new round of identifying myself as a 28, 29-year-old. And I began to play around with writing, really. And then that took off. I still acted. I mean, I acted in Gangsters. I played role incident gangsters and bits and bobs of other things. But basically, I was a writer, and I found that the nice thing about writing is that you can write whenever you want to. Yeah. As an actor, you can only act when other people decide you want to, and it's pretty debilitating waiting for that phone to ring, you know.
Yes.
And so, but with writing, you can go upstairs and knock something off, you know.
Definitely. What I'm going to do is, Nabil, if you can hear me, I'm going to ring you, and then I'm going to put it on my loudspeaker, so we should be able to hear Nabil, hopefully. So let's give that a go, shall we? Okay. Let's see. Oh, it's exciting. It's like an episode of Going Live. Hello, Nabil. We're gonna.
Hearing you.
Can you hear me now? Is that fine?
It's very faint, actually.
Oh right, okay. What about now? Is that better? Yeah, hello, Nabil. Can you hear me? Is that better?
I can just actually. It sounds like you're quite a distance from me.
Oh, right. Okay, I've got you on my loudspeaker so that everybody can hear. So, Nabil, my first question really for you is when did you know that you wanted to become an actor? What was that that inspiring moment for you?
When did I want to know? When did I? At what point did I want to become an actor?
Yes.
Probably watching television in the hospital.
Right.
Because it was all very fantastic what I saw on the telly, especially the costume dramas. In those days, and we're talking late 50s, there actually wasn't a lot of sci-fi on British television. In fact, the only sci-fi I remember watching was Fireball XL5, Ray, Supercar, and they were all puppets. And although, you know, I knew the story of Pinocchio, where, you know, if you're a puppet, you can become human. But I've not come across any story where if you're human, you become a puppet.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see how I was going to get to be in Fireball XL5, which was actually a big favourite of me. But I wanted to be an actor when I saw things like Robin Hood, Richard the Lionheart, Sir Lancelot, Ivanhoe, these especially. I wasn't that keen on, you know, wanting to be a cop. I thought they were pretty boring. Shooting with guns was pretty boring, really. Too easy. I thought there was a lot more skill involved in sword fights and knife fights. Then there was a moment on the ward when a bunch of actors entered wearing Shakespearean costume. It blew my mind. They were obviously promoting some local production, and I just thought, wow, what is this? It's something that's come out of the television and is now walking down the ward. So I pumped up my pillows and sat on it, sat on them all, and shouted at them, "I'm the king of the castle. You're all the dirty rascals, and you have to have my permission to enter my castle," which made them laugh. So that I think was my first attempt at acting.
Ah.
And then the second time was when I left the hospital and gone to the children's home. I was now 9, and it happened to be coming up to Christmas. And I'd heard that there was going to be a nativity play. So I obviously wanted to be in it. I would have liked to have had the lead role, possibly as Joseph, or not necessarily the baby Jesus, because he doesn't do a lot except maybe cry. And also, I quite fancied the idea of being one of the 3 kings. Since unfortunately, all the best parts are taken.
Yeah.
And I said, but I want to be in it. And they said, well, maybe you can invent a part. You know, what do you want to be? And I thought, astronaut. And they went, pardon? I want to be an astronaut. Well, look, astronaut would want to come and visit baby Jesus, wouldn't he? And give him a gift. So I thought, all right. So that was it. That was my first ever role on stage as obviously amateur child actor, playing an astronaut in a nativity play.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nabil. Thank you. Philip, I want to ask you about that sort of time period from when. How many versions of the script did it take for Vengeance of Varus, from the your original script to the version that we saw on screen? How many rewrites?
Well, it took quite a while, actually. I think there must have been about 4 drafts in the end, spread over something like 18 months, because First of all, John Nathan Turner was very suspicious of me, and he wanted to know why I wanted to write for Doctor Who when I'd written for Play for Today and the National Theatre and all that. And I just said I just like the show, and it gives me an outlet for the fantastical part of my talent. And but eventually he agreed, and I was commissioned to write a script. But that script was for Peter Davidson, and it was also part of. It was then going out in 4 25-minute episodes, I think, during the week, if I remember properly.
Yeah.
And, but then it changed, and they then put it into a two-parter on. I think it was on a Saturday night. It's a long time. Forgive me if I've got this detail wrong. And I said, well, look here. I've got 4 cliffhangers going in the original version.
We've just lost Philip there.
Oh. Can you hear me?
We've lost Philip's connection on a clear.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me? I'll carry on if you can hear me, and your screen seems to be frozen. Keith. Well, I'll go on talking about the genesis of Vengeance.
I do apologise that we lost the connection there. I do.
Yes. Are you back? I'll go on talking anyway, whether you can hear me or not. So then after they said, okay, well, we'll commission a rewrite, which they did. And then Peter Davidson became Colin Baker. And I said, well, I need to see something of Colin because I've been writing for Peter Davidson's rhythms. So they commissioned another script. And eventually they decided on the 4th draft that was the one, and they were going to go ahead. So I said, well, that's great. And as a joke, I said, well, I'm very disappointed, really. And they said, why? We're going to give you a production. I said, well, this was turning into a pension for my own age because I'd been paid about 4 times at least for the script. The big thing about it was that, I'd had 4 goes at it, and it had been over a period of time, and, it became more inventive as the time went on. So that was Vengeance on Varos. Hello, can you hear me? Are you back, Ian?
Okay. I do apologise, everybody. We seem to be having a bit of technical difficulty.
You seem all right now, Ian.
Yeah, we're all good now. Philip, I suppose really, I'm going to invite. Nabil, it looks like it's saying it's connecting to your audio, so we might actually get you through.
Sorry?
It looks like Nabil is connecting to the audio, so it's looking good. It looks like something's going on. So, but we'll carry on. I want to invite Keith Barnfather to the chat, and also so Keith, are you there?
Well, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. I can see you. So you need to switch your video on, Keith.
Oh, I don't know if I'm prepared. Oh, I've lost you.
Well, I'm back here. Hello, Keith.
Oh, I've lost the picture.
You need to put it on.
Technical things,
Oh, yes, I know.
There he is.
There you are.
Well, you guys can see me. That's all that matters.
There's the man.
Yes, that's all that matters.
For some reason, I can't see myself. But what's new?
Oh, well, nobody wants to see that.
Charming.
And then I'm going to invite Phil Newman in as well. Hello, Phil.
Hello.
So I suppose really we need to talk about the Devil Seeds of Arador, don't we? Philip, let's start with you. Where did the idea for the storyline come from?
Well, it originally came from an email that Keith Barnfather sent me. He'd done one of his myth makers on Nabil Shaban, and it just occurred to him that could we do a script featuring Syl as the central character, not a a subsidiary character, but the main character. And I said, well, why not, you know? And then but I had no ideas or anything, and I gradually began to think about it. And there were problems but I didn't realize, but Keith did, that I couldn't use anything other than the character from the Doctor Who scripts because of the franchise. And but gradually we began to exchange ideas, and it became, and it was also limited sets and budget. And I eventually came on the idea of a court case, which would restrict the sets and also allow some court interaction, which I quite like. And that's where it started. It started from Keith, really.
Oh, right. Okay. And let's go to Phil. Phil, your set design on it, Phil. I mean, oh my gosh, it is really like a sort of 1970s, 80s BBC Studios design. I mean, I got so excited. This is such a fanboy thing to say, but just the walls, the walls were a 19s, you know, like something from Doctor Who or Blake Seven.
Well, they were. Yeah. Well, I mean, when Keith and I were discussing, you know, the look and the feel of what the lunar colony should be, and we went for this brutalist kind of aesthetic. One of our early sort of recce's as a possible location venue, which we abandoned, was this sort of brutalist art gallery in the middle of nowhere. Actual fact, the Pet Shop Boys used it as a photo call for their last album, coincidentally, a year later. But we wanted to keep with that kind of aesthetic. But we also needed a contrast for like the corridors and things like that. And I remembered that there's a company that supplies vac form to the theatre and film industry, with different textures like brick and wood and panelling and all sorts of things, that they had that original kind of moulding that was designed for the Mutants back in 1972 by a designer called Jeremy Bear. They still had it in their catalogue. And of course, never been able to use it because, you know, in theatre you don't often tend to do much sci-fi stuff really. But when I remember talking to Keith when we were travelling somewhere, and I thought, oh, it'd be quite fun to use that maybe. And then and he said, yeah, great, why not? And it tied it all in. It sort of tied it into that world in terms of the dates of, you know, the kind of timeline that we were looking at with Syl, and where it fitted into the Doctor Who universe without it actually tying anything down.
Cheers, Phil. And Nabil, congratulations on the award. I mean, I think Keith can jump in and correct me, but the production, and as well Philip, the production has won how many awards, Keith?
At this moment in time, it's now 135. I haven't announced it because I think people are getting bored hearing about them. But we've just won the Rome International Film Festival as well. So we're up to 35, but thank God I haven't actually submitted it to too many more. So we're all right. We shouldn't have too many more announcements to make, but it has been ludicrously successful. I put that purely down to everybody else I work with, nothing to do with me.
What about Nabil? Are you shocked by all the awards that it's won?
Sorry?
Are you shocked by all the awards? Are you surprised by all the awards it's won?
Well, absolutely shocked. Yeah, I mean, I once was nominated for an award about 15 years ago. That was the first time in my life that I was nominated for an actor's award. Unfortunately, I didn't. It was four of us that were nominated, including David Tennant, bastard, who just got the Doctor Who, and he got the award. But never mind. That was my time, and I assumed after that I would never get a award. Down to Phil, really. You know, he's been using a bit of his, you know,
Everybody seems to have locked up again.
Yeah, I think Ian's lost his connection, and therefore, because Nabil is on speakerphone,
Yeah.
we
Does
can't.
that mean that you and I are here, Phil?
Yeah,
So we're talking to the world while everybody else has gone.
we are.
Oh,
How
okay.
amazing is that?
All right. Well, look, you haven't. Well, we just gab away here for a bit. Look, you haven't seen these. Look, these are the
Wow.
amazing. Some of the these are some of the amazing awards that we actually got for the series. This one is from Accolade at. I don't know which one it was from, but there we go. There's one. That looks rather nice, doesn't it?
Nice one, isn't it? 3 stars.
Yeah, I know. You got 3 stars, more than you ever got at school. This is one of my favourites, though. This is Fastidious for Best Web Series. Now, isn't that gorgeous? That's almost up to the same sort of standard as an Oscar, I think. That is lovely. There you go.
What was that? What was that from, Keith?
This one is also for Best Web Series.
From where?
I've got all the sort of series awards. Of course, we did also get all the individual awards for you guys. I mean, you all won something, which was amazing. Now, this one's another incredible one. This is Indie Fest in America. And this is getting close to Oscar size. Look at that. Eh?
Wow, look at that.
Oh, you're back again.
I'm back. I do apologise, everybody.
We haven't missed you. Don't worry.
Well, I know that. I think it's to do with the fact that we've got a phone next to the laptop. I think they don't like talking to each other. So I do apologise, everyone.
I switched mine off because I'm a good bunny.
Well, it's because I'm on the phone to Nabil.
I know. You're doing well, Ian. Keep it going. Keep it going.
The pressures of live transmission, ladies and gentlemen. And I was warned, and I didn't.
Don't worry, nothing will go wrong now.
So I guess you were just talking about the awards, and it is great that this production has won so many awards. But Philip, what was it? How would your sort of approach to writing the script change from, say, the 1980s Doctor Who to now? Was there any difference in terms of approach, or was it the same?
Well, it was different because Syl was the central character, and it was about him and about what he'd been up to, and how he would escape his comeuppance. Mm-hmm. It was similar, I think. But of course, there's a lot of years gone by. And although I've written for Syl, I've written for Audio Adventures, and I've written several of those. And so I sort of kept him alive, if you like, in my mind. And it was always a pleasure to go, and it's like a bit of a holiday to write his dialogue, which is semi-Shakespearean at times, other times. It's a ragbag of all sorts of styles that he comes up with. Mm-hmm. And some surprising words like poltroon when he wants to call somebody an idiot, and it was just great joy to write, really, and different in Doctor Who because you've got all the structures of, the Doctor is the main engine in it, and the companions, and then you've got the monster, and then you've got that. So it was really different because I suddenly could write a subsidiary character as the main character.
Thank you. If anybody's got any questions, wave your hand and I will unmute you. People ask, I can see you all, so just wave your hand if anybody's got a question. Laura, okay, I'm going to come to you. So I've unmuted Laura Hunter. Yep, okay, Laura, go ahead.
My question is to, I think it's Nabil. How on earth did you do that creepy voice for Syl? It used to scare the pants out of me.
Sorry, unfortunately my hearing is really rubbish.
Okay, so Nabil, how did you come up with the voice? Because it used to really scare Laura.
The voice?
Yeah.
Well, one thing was I was thinking of snakes. That was one idea I had. The laugh came from watching a friend's python and watching its tongue flickering in and out. The voice, I was also thinking of Gollum. I'd read Lord of the Rings when I was a kid. The film hadn't come out yet, except for the animation film, which came out in the late 70s. And I suppose I was probably thinking that Syl could well be someone like Gollum. So I think he was an inspiration for the voice. Although obviously I'd never really heard Gollum's voice, but that's how I kind of imagined it. And then, of course, I'd been watching a lot of scary movies throughout my life, whether it was, Dracula, Frankenstein, science fiction, scary stories, and of course Doctor Who, which had plenty of monsters and their voices. So it was, seeking to get an inspiration for that. And I'm glad I terrified you as a kid, because that was my intention, to scare the children. I felt that Doctor Who had got a bit soft by the time I stopped watching it. It wasn't scary. That might be because I was now a so-called adult. But and actually the scariest film I'd seen up then was The Exorcist. Actually, part of the scariness of The Exorcist was the little girl's voice when she was possessed by the demon. But my intention was to try to recapture what it felt like when I was a kid watching Doctor Who. And I felt it was time to get all of you viewers back behind the sofa. And that's what I worked on.
You certainly did, especially with the costume and that as well. That and the voice terrified me to death.
Sorry?
So the costume and the voice, it terrified Laura, and I'm sure many others to death. So thank you. So any other questions? I've now muted you again, Laura. So any other questions? Just raise your hand. Lawrence Summary, I'm going to come to you. You are now unmuted. So what's your question, Lawrence?
Question for Philip. Just wanted to ask you about Star Cops and how did you get involved with that?
Yeah, sure. Well, it was one of those things that they assembled a team of four writers, and they sort of knew my Doctor Who work, and they invited me to come along, and we had a general meeting about it, and we developed a lot of the ideas together, which was based upon the main writer whose original idea it was. And I was commissioned to do 2 episodes, and I did episode 5, which was, I think, the longest title I've ever had, which was called "This Case to Be Opened in a Million Years," about dumping nuclear waste in space. And I was supposed to do episode 9, which was a sort of whodunit on the moon, because there were then 4 international agencies on the moon, and there had to be a police cop series, cop organization, which were the Star Cops. But they ran out of money, unfortunately. And although I'd been paid for the script of Death on the Moon, it was never made. And unfortunately, I've lost the script. And there've been suggestions by the audio people that I should
Big finish.
should do it.
Big Finish, yeah.
And but I've lost the script, so it's one of the mysteries of life.
Cheers. I hope that answered your question, Lawrence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions from anybody? Jenny Shirt, I'm going to unmute you now. Okay. So just give it a second. Yep, go ahead, Jenny.
Hi, this is to Keith, Nabil, and Phil. I just wondered what was the favourite moment of filming Still in the Devil Seeds of Aridor? Do you have any favourite moments?
I bet we've all would probably say the day we wrapped. But for me, probably a general feeling while we were doing the whole thing of the wonderful esprit de corps amongst everybody. It really was, I'd say, the best shoot I've ever done. It was just a marvelous attitude everybody had, everybody working together, and we really did shoot an incredible amount of material in 5 days. I don't know how the others feel.
Nabil, let's go to Nabil. Nabil, what was your favourite scene or moment on Devil Seeds?
my favourite was meeting all the fellow actors actually, and watching them perform. That's the thing that I have as a great moment. And I think at one point the camera fell over. I thought that was pretty funny. And I thought,
What? Right, you're fired.
sorry?
You're fired.
I was worried about that machine that I was sitting on. I kind of expected it to hover at any moment and start spinning. So it was a bit hard for me to focus on my acting because I kept thinking it's going to take off. But I suppose I like the challenge of trying. When Keith said that he wanted to do that big, that nice juicy monologue in one take, I thought, well, okay, I'd like to do that. It'd be an interesting challenge. So I suppose that's a memorable moment. But obviously, you know, the entire experience of doing the production was memorable. And of course, the other thing is getting into that suit. But the most memorable part of that was getting out of the suit at the end of the shoot.
Philip, did you go to any of the filming for Devil's?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, I was ill at the time, and I couldn't travel. And my memorable moment actually links into Keith's, because I hadn't seen any of it. I'd seen the trailer, and I had no idea what the standard was going to be. And when I hear that one camera, 5 days, you feel the worst, to be absolutely frank. And I went with my daughter down to the premiere, and I said to her, look, I don't know what standard this is going to be. I haven't seen any of it. I have no idea. And when we went in, the actors started turning up, and they were so friendly and warm to each other. I thought, this is a good sign, because, you know, if you've had a bad time, you don't go to premieres, or if you do, you sort of, you know, are fairly cold to your fellow participants. And this warmed me. And when I saw the premiere, it was for the first time, and I was very pleased indeed.
Thank you, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's gone, Nabil. I don't know what's going on. There's some problems.
I think we should ask Phil what his main memory is.
Sorry, that's me.
Well, I don't know whether I've got a favourite memory, to be honest, because I mean, it was.
Hello, darling. I'm in the middle of this Zoom call. I'll be doing it for the next hour. So I'll come back tonight.
And this is my favourite memory of today.
Yeah.
Oh dear, have we lost Cygnus Alpha again?
I think we have again.
Oh, it's frozen.
He keeps dipping out.
He's gone again. Okay, look, we can all talk amongst ourselves. I like Myth Runner, Jenny.
I love Myth Runner, Keith, but I wasn't going to mention it.
Thank you, Keith. Keith. I'm so sorry. I do apologise.
You're back again.
Yes, we're back again. I don't know why it keeps cutting out. I even upgraded my internet connection for this, so I do apologise, everybody.
I'd get a refund if I were you.
So sorry, Philip. You were saying that you went to the premiere, which was actually a Cygnus Alpha event in London, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
which you hosted. Yeah, and I was pleased on several counts, really. First of all, by the amazing quality of the production, which, as I say, was shot in an amazing 5 days with one camera, which is unbelievable, really. When you think that, you know, a good feature film, if they get 3 minutes a day, they're chuffed. Yeah, and I was very pleased, and I was pleased by the event and to meet so many fans who'd turned up to look at, you know, what is a spin-off of Doctor Who, and they were very warm, and it was a very nice day for me.
Good. Okay, thank you. So, Keith, are you there?
Yeah, I'm man. I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry.
That's fine. So
I've got good internet connection. I'm fine.
All right, show off. Are you happy with how it's turned out? Because I mean, it must have been a very stressful week, 10 days shooting it. But has it all paid off? Was it worth it in the end?
I think it's always difficult for the person who's, you know, the producer and the director to comment too much on that. I'd rather other people. But from my own personal perspective, I didn't get too stressed actually, because everybody, Phil Newman, all the crew, Rob, the DOP, Dave doing sound, everybody there, and Philip Thomas Robinson, who was doing, you know, I could mention everybody, but, and all the actors were so supportive that I never really felt that I was under any pressure. Even though we had to do some long hours, we were all in it together and we were all determined to finish it. And I think that feeling comes across in the production. I think that that kind of warmth is why it's achieved so many accolades, I think. I mean, I'm very pleased with it, obviously, but I think, again, any director will turn around and say straight afterwards, oh, I wish I had. I think if I was ever happy with anything I'd done, I'd probably retire. You know, because what's the point? You want to do something else and you want to say, I'll see if I can do that a bit better next time. But I mean, Nabil was talking about his soliloquy. Yeah. And I was determined that that scene would be shot as a single camera. And if I could praise everybody who's involved in this, but if I could praise one person the most, it's Nabil. He learned that script completely. I don't think he referred to the script more than once during the entire 5 days. And that soliloquy he did in one take.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Privilege.
That was 11 minutes, wasn't it, Keith?
Yeah. Absolute privilege to be on the floor with him. It really was, Philip. I wish you'd been there. Next time.
Well, so do I, but yes, well, let's hope. Let's hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed. Philip, did Eric Saywood have a lot of input into your 2 TV Doctor Who scripts? Did he, as the script editor, did he do a lot of editing on it?
Yes, he was a very active script editor. I mean, he was my first point of contact when I had the idea for Varos, and he explained to me that you have to create a complete world, and you have to know that world intimately. You know, you're like a sort of godlike creature, really, that creates something. And that sort of hit home. I mean, he probably said it to all the writers, but it sort of hit home. And I said, yeah, I've got to really create, you know, I've got to know what's going on Varos. I've got to know what, you know, the minerals are. I've got to know what the setup. I've got to know what the history is. And so he did that. And, you know, and he was instrumental in me writing for him, because, as I say, John Nathan Turner didn't want to know. In fact, John's final word of warning to me and to Eric was, well, all right, we'll go with Vengeance on Varos, but it mustn't be political. And I think Varos is probably the most political Doctor Who there's ever been, I would guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, on Mind Warp, it was rather different, because the initial writer had died, unfortunately. I was doing episodes 5 till 8. They didn't have writers for the succeeding episodes, so I was sort of isolated to write the story, and I had to depend on Eric to do the editing of melding together whatever the other stories were. So he was very, very useful and supportive in that way.
So I suppose I need to ask you, and I'm sure this has been asked to you lots of times, Philip. So in Mind Warp, is it the Matrix is lying, or has the Doctor gone bad, or is the Doctor just pretending?
Well, he's gone bad, but he's gone bad for a reason, and the reason is that he's had the Mind Warp treatment. Yeah. And for a temporary time, he is actually working from the worst side of the Doctor. Right. And so there is that basis of that. As I say, and then eventually he reverts to himself when the treatment wears off. So that's really the motivation of that. So
it was a temporary mind warp.
Yeah. Well, again, it's called Mind Warp, you know. Yeah. And that happened to him.
And Mind Warp has one of probably the best Doctor Who castings in it of Brian Blessed.
Yes. Yeah, that was quite a funny story, really, because I try not to think of actors when I'm writing the parts. You know, I deliberately don't.
Yeah.
And but halfway through, I thought, God, this is a Brian Blessed part, you know. And I thought, well, I won't say anything. I won't say anything. And when the script was in, I got a call from John Nathan Turner, and he said, Philip. I said, what? He said, I had a great idea. I said, what is it? He said, Brian Blessed for Yakanos. And I said, that's a great idea, John. You know, and great minds. And you know, and Brian turned up to do it very, very well.
Indeed. And what was it always the intention to sort of kill off Perry? Well, she didn't really die.
It was, because it was John's idea when we had the initial meeting of the writers, and we had a pub lunch, and then we had a meeting about where we were going to take the series.
Sorry, Philip, you said you had a pub lunch. I would love to have a pub lunch right now.
So would I. I know. Things that have gone that we never thought would go. And well, they'll come back. And at the end of it, John took me aside and said, I want you to do something for me in your script. And I said, oh, what's that? And he said, kill Perry. And I said, what? And he said, leave it to you how you do it, but she's got to go. She has to go. And so he said, but don't say anything. You mustn't say anything to anybody. And certainly don't say it to Nicola and Brian. So I said, okay, thanks, John. Thanks for that. And so I went around while I was doing the script and thinking about the script. And I was thinking, you know, do I garrote her? Do I give her a Viking funeral? Do I, you know, stab her in the back? Because I actually was stabbing her in the back. And I thought, I just don't know. And of course, whenever I met Nicola, either in the cast or a party or something, I'd look at her and think, yes, if I did this, perhaps poison might be nice, you know. And but I didn't say anything. Anyway, years and years later, as you know, I did it where there was a transfer of Kiv into her. A very chilling moment. That perhaps one of my favourite chilling moments. When she comes up and speaks in his voice.
As a viewer, and Trial of the Time Lords was, I vaguely remember clips from it as a child, but subsequently seeing it on VHS and DVD and Blu-ray, that scene, that sequence of Nicola just coming up and saying, warm, not cold, just
I like this body.
Yeah, it's an amazing performance, and it really is I think one of the highlights of the Colin Baker era, Perry's death.
Yes, it was, and also what you try and do, if you're a writer and you're writing a script where the actor's going to leave, it's a sort of tradition that you give them a good part, you give them a good piece to send them off, you know. And this was the thing. Just to finish this, years later, but we're doing a video and Nicola was there. We're doing a commentary on Varus, actually.
Yeah.
And I said, I must confess about this, Nicola, that I knew I was going to kill you all the time, and I had to keep it secret. And she said, "Oh, don't worry, darling, I knew." She actually knew, you know.
I think Nicola was probably more annoyed that a door was being paid more than she was.
Yeah. Well, that's beyond my pay grade, as they say.
Indeed. If anybody has any questions, just wave your hand, or if you know how to use Zoom, do a hand raise, and I will come to you. I'm going to come to Rico. So, Rico, you are unmuted. Fire away, Rico.
Hi. I've got a quick question for Keith. With the success you've had with Devil Seeds, will you be doing any more dramas? Have you got any thoughts about what you might do next?
Well, I don't think I'm sure Philip won't mind me saying that he's just delivered the script to me, which I haven't read yet. I need to sit back and read it carefully, but for the sequel to Syl and the Devil Seeds, which provisionally we're calling Vote Syl. I don't know if that will be the next production we do, simply because of the problems at the moment connected with COVID-19.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it'll be a large studio shoot again, and that might not be something that we can do for a while. We also have Anomaly, the script for Anomaly written, Fitton's written, which would be easier to produce because it would be mainly on location. So it'll be one or the other next. It just depends on circumstances. But I made a promise to Philip that we will make it, and we will. We just don't know when. I'm looking forward to the next one. It'll be the same team of people. I'm really looking forward to working with Phil Newman again. and Rob Thrush as the cameraman, because we had such a great atmosphere on the shoot that I want to work with the same people.
Good.
Can't give you any timelines though because of the way the things are at the moment.
No, sure.
Okay, thank you, Rico.
Thank you.
Okay, right, put you back on mute. Okay, Jay North. Okay, I'm going to come to you, Jay. Just 1 second. You are unmuting now. Just give it a moment. There we go, Jay. What's your question?
Hi, I have a question for Keith. First, let me say that I love your videos. I've been watching these all weekend.
Product placement. Product.
I know. You get a freebie for that.
Okay, I loved the Pat Troughton in America DVD. I was wondering, have you ever thought about putting out more DVDs like that for maybe the other doctors, or just old footage no one's gotten a chance to see?
I'm always open to receiving all these things being suggested to me, and you can always get hold of me on Facebook or send me an email. It's finding the material. I mean, with the Pat Troughton material, that just came to me as I was researching a production we still haven't done on fundraising in America for pledge drives for PBS television, which hopefully we will get to make. And because these interviews that are in Pat Troughton in America were so good, the PBS stations had shot them all on, I think they were on at least high band U-matic. They may have been on Betacam, I can't remember. And they were amenable to selling them to real time for us to use. It just was a logical production to do. And I'm very pleased we managed to get the material, because there are obviously very few interviews with Patrick talking about Doctor Who. And these particular interviews are almost priceless. But yes, I am more than interested. I mean, the main thing to bear in mind is that there are quite a lot of interviews with John Pertwee and Tom Baker and the others. So not quite so unique. Whereas with Patrick, there weren't many interviews of him. So this material was totally unique. But yes, I mean, if somebody contacts me and says, we've got this, and this, would you be interested? I'd be glad to hear from them.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question, Jay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. So if anybody has any further questions, just raise your hand and you can ask your question. But I'm going to go to Nabil. Nabil, last year you were at the National Theatre in a fantastic production. What are your thoughts about theatre in the future? Do you hope that theatre will come back very soon?
I think, yeah, theatre will come back because people want to see theatre, because people want to act on stage. It may be a while before we can get the confidence of being able to stage the kind of shows that we took for granted right up until next year. Last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, quite lucky that I was in one of the last shows that the National ever did before COVID last year. And, today you can't imagine that such a production could happen or can happen in the future. And with all the theatres around Britain and presumably in the United States and elsewhere in Europe, around the world, huge redundancies going on. Staff are being sent away. And to rebuild that infrastructure, to rebuild all that specialist knowledge, it's not just the actors that are going because of what's happening, but all the craft departments, all the tailoring departments, the people who dress the actors, they're all being made redundant. The box office people, it's an apocalypse of theatre. And but humans will survive. Humans will get their act together, but maybe not in my lifetime. Maybe what I did last year at the National will be the very last show that I've ever done or will have done live on stage. future, possibly. It's bleak.
Well, let's hope you know we can all go back to some level of normality. It'd be lovely to reunite all of you, including Keith, on stage in a couple of years' time for another premiere of the next SIL. That would be lovely to do. So yeah, let's see what happens. But I'm just going to come to Philip Martin, if I may. Philip, your Doctor Who's, the creation of SIL are some of the highlights of Doctor Who. Vengeance on Varos, for me, is a really fantastic, almost political piece. Especially and it runs parallels with the time that we've been living in. That sort of, we're living in our houses at the moment. We can't go anywhere, and the sort of rigging of elections and things. Do you think a sort of Mr. Trump? There's some allegories there.
Well, I think so. I mean, I did a convention in Los Angeles, and I can't remember what is it called. Is it called Gallifrey?
Gallifrey, yeah.
Yeah. And we were all the guests were introduced individually on stage, and I was asked that if Sil was alive today, what function would he be fulfilling? And into my head, I said, well, I think he might be president of the United States, but there again, that job, I believe, has been taken, and it got a round of applause. But we were in California. Had I said that in Texas, I think that I might have been run out of town. There are. I mean, certainly, Sil's political base is not that different than Trump's playbook, or dare I say it, Johnson's playbook, and one is slightly less potent than the other, but I think it's there, and I think Sil fits into that category of being funny, bit of a rascal, but very dangerous in the wrong position.
Yes. Yeah. For me, I love Vengeance on Varos. I think it's a fantastic story. I think all of your work has been, Philip. And on behalf of every Doctor Who fan, thank you for your contribution to Doctor Who. Really, thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
So thank you. Nabil, I'm going to come to you before I unmute everyone. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but we all love the laugh. Could you give us a little Sil laugh to play us out on with, please?
That's my boy.
It sounds really disgusting on Zoom, I have to say.
Right. Okay, I am now going to unmute everybody. Unmute all. So you should slowly all being unmuted.
What are we going to do? A sing-along?
Yeah, definitely. No, if you could all please show your appreciation. And again, apologies for the technical difficulty. It's just one of those things, using a phone next to the laptop. Will you please put your hands together and please thank Philip Martin, Nabil Shaban, Keith Barnfather, and where's he got? I'm Phil Newman.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.